side, it would be just this graph here. They've told you that the first thing is a reflection, the line y equals 0, and so that's given this upside down and is also indicated with a negative. The vertical stretch of scale factor k is given by this number here, so that means that k is 3. The horizontal translation of p units is given by this number here, so that's 4, and the vertical translation is given by this number here, which is 5. Okay, factorize x squared minus 3x minus 10. So we're finding two numbers that multiply to give negative 10 and add to give negative 3. So that would be, x minus 5, x plus 2, which then leads on to part B. To solve that equation, that means x equals 5 or negative 2. Number 17, here's our graph. Write down the values of P and Q. Well, they've told us that this is P and this is Q. So, because these numbers here give us the values that they go through, it would be x plus 1/2 and x minus 2. Now, note up here, these are both minuses, so it means that P is 1/2 and Q is 2. The function has a minimum point at C. We know because of the symmetry of it that this measurement here is equal, these measurements here are equal to each other, and they are half the total distance here. So half the total distance is 2.5. Sorry, the total distance is 2.5 units. Half of that is 1 1/4. 1 1/4 units away from 2 gives us a value of x as 3/4. Question done. Diagram shows part of the graph. The curve passes through the point A, 310. The line CD is an asymptote. The vertical asymptote is always given by this value here, because we know that the bottom of a denominator, the denominator of a fraction cannot equal 0. If our asymptote goes through this point here, it's when x is 2, which indicates that P would be 2. So P we can find as 2 straight away. We then know that our function is Q over x minus 2. Well, if it goes through the point 310, we can then substitute those values into there. So 10 equals Q over 3 minus 2. 10 is Q over 1, so Q is 1 times 10, which is 10. The graph of fx is transformed as shown, and the point A is now at 3, negative 10. So we can see that this is a reflection, because the x coordinate hasn't changed at all, just the y. It's a reflection in the x-axis. And this one, diagram shows this function. Well, A, because we know it's negatively sad, A must be negative. It crosses the y-axis underneath the x, so in other words this is the negative area, so that means that C would be negative. B squared minus 4AC would be equal to 0 because it just touches the x-axis, it doesn't cut it twice. And B is positive. Okay, so last question. The quadratic has exactly one solution, so that means we're looking at the discriminant. Or B squared minus 4AC. So A is 4, B is 4K, and C is 9. So 4k squared, note the brackets around this, minus 4 times a times c, has exactly one solution, so that means the discriminant is equal to 0. So 16k squared minus 16 times 9. It's 144. K squared is 144 and 16. Which is 3. Obviously you could have the minus version here, but because k is greater than 0, it means that k is 3. Okay.